Hi, Ronnie Figueroa here. Um, I'm going to start out by just giving a little bit of information about myself, and and then we'll get into what I feel is really important for us to hear, and important for us to see and hear. Ronnie Figueroa. I'm 65 years old. I am probably in the best shape, I believe, emotionally and physically in my life than I've ever been. Um, I attribute that to the experiential nature of what I've learned over the past few years. Now, again, I have been on this planet for 65 years. I've done a few things here and there. Grew up in the 60s. Got to see so much of what I can't imagine what any other people who live a lifespan on this planet will have been able to experience as much as the ones like myself who've grown up or were part of the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, nownies. and I'm really grateful for it. All the things that I've seen and experienced, all the things that I even consider to be the what I call the good, the bad, and the ugly. And there's been quite a bit of all three of those things. Now, within that, when I say even threes, to me that number it means something. It's almost like when we hear that 1111 kind of thing, it means something. And I'm sure a lot of you have experienced that whole concept of what some would call acts of synchronicity. I call them acts of synchronicity slash miracles. And so we know, especially those who are watching this sort of thing, who would maybe consider themselves seeking spirituality or seeking self help or answers to what is going on in this world, in this planet, on this universe. Within that, there's different kinds of words that are used. Spirituality, energy, universal consciousness, um, collective consciousness, or even some of this, I think it's Carl Jung called it collective unconsciousness. And with all those things said, with all of these things that we have available to us, my deepest concern is that we are just not doing and experiencing and being enough. And I'm using all those words together, doing, being, experiencing, because I think there's a balance that we need to reestablish within ourselves, and in order to heal the world in a much deeper way. And I believe the universe is so much yearning for this to occur. And even when I say the universe, what am I speaking about? I'm not speaking about some God on a throne, or individual entities that are collective to this or that. I'm talking about the oneness that is within all of us. And even with that, we need to learn more and more that that oneness is something so real. At the same time, because we are human beings, there's always going to be a separation as long as we're in these human bodies. And the key part of that is learning how to accept that, understand that, and love that uncertainty, that not knowing all of the answers, knowing that we are in error, all of us. And with that knowing, what happens if we can truly, truly grasp a hold of that and learn, in the words that I could use, because they're just words, learn to practice this whole concept. Now, it's very simple, so I'm going to say it now. I'm going to say other words. The words are so insignificant. Everything is so insignificant compared to this. Learning to accept, learning to practice, learning to see how real it is to just live in awareness being the most important aspect of it all. We've heard these things. Um, practicing living there. And I'll try to break down that somewhat too for the logical thinking part of our brains. But I so much want us to get the fact that there's too much left brain living and thinking and analyzing and and controlling and even believing that we're doing the right thing more and more, and we're just not, because there's still for all of us too much of that analytical side of our thinking. So the three things: awareness, being present, and having a positive, what I call positive loving intention. Now, those are words and they're easy to say, but how does that work in practical life and practical living? I believe it works like this. I believe it's so important to, moment by moment, practice what is more and more genuine in the midst of this to you individually. And the more you do that, the more the reality of this will become more and more of a truer reality. So how do we do that? Okay. Let's just say we're looking at the word acceptance for the first part of this. So how do we do that? There's all these things going on in our minds and in our feelings and our emotions. Some of us are dying of cancer. Some of us are in a very volatile situation or circumstance. Some of us have lost people that we love. Some of us are fine and are living this life of being very comfortable, and some of us being too comfortable. That place of what I call being comfortably numb. We don't want that anymore. We want to break through all of that and be able to be aware of within ourselves and around us the good, bad, and ugly that exists. And when we become more aware of that, and I use the word accepting of that, what occurs is that there's more peace in the midst of it, because we're allowing ourselves to truly see and experience the energies, all of the energies that are around and within us in one place. And all we have to really do, because it's not like, oh, I got to grab this energy and grab that energy and I got to, oh, no. What it means is just getting to this place. I'm using these three words, the simple words that you can say over and over again. And even if it's done by rote, remember this and check it out. Even scientifically, they're saying having rote kinds of words, rote kinds of statements or mantras will do something to rewire your brain. So we have these tools where we can do that. Yet what's more important is not to rely so much on the rote whatever, or to rely too much on any tools. I'm just using these words to help us get a little bit more balanced with the reality of what really works. Okay, so again, awareness. And to me, what that speaks about is, let's just say we're going through something, whether it be depression, anxiety, fears, confusion, and once you just kind of can say that to yourself in the state of looking at it, that's another word that could help other people, examining it. Ooh, not to try to figure it out. Really get away from that. Not trying to figure it out. I'm just trying to, in my reality, look at it. And in the looking at it, a part of you is going to be upset, maybe. A part of you is going to be confused, for all of us to some degree. And if you don't get that, that's a problem, I think. There's some confusion in everything. It'll be that way until we move out of these bodies. And then we'll have to see what's going to be there. I'm hoping for something really wonderful. Nobody knows for sure. But we do know we have this right now. We're aware of this. Where? In this moment. Once you get there and that, no matter what's going on, you're bringing in the energy here. The good's coming here, The bad's coming here, the ugly's coming here. And I feel all a part of it. We feel all a part of it. Sometimes it's not going to feel so great. Sometimes that part of the whatever negative things we're going through. And that's when we need to keep bringing it up. Some would even call, yeah, you're befriending it. Are you really befriending it? I don't think so. You want to get rid of this stuff. We all do. So don't try to be perfect before you get to a more balanced place, because we'll never be perfect. But there's too many teachers, gurus, philosophers, scientists who have the answer, and they'll sit there like they don't have bad issues or problems, that they don't have the good, bad, and ugly within them. And I think teachers need to, because this will really accelerate healing more and more, that we become more honest with the people that we're trying to help. And that's what, I consider myself a teacher, counselor, been in the field for about 40 years, licensed mental health counselor, gone through this kind of training thing, you name it. The seminars, the bigger ones, the biggest names, the biggest things. I've been in a cult, been a leader, one of the leaders of a cult. So, I've experienced quite a bit. And even so, over these 40 years, I've only really started to get it within the past 3. And I believe the main reason for me, and I think for most people, I don't know if you hear that siren in the background, but where we are right now, it's close to a fire station. I hope that's not going to be too distracting. And I would just ask us all right now to pray and reach out for the people who are responding, the responders right now, and for those that they're going to help, because there's something happening that's not the greatest of things right now. They're not going to a party. They're going to help someone or someones who are most likely suffering in some way. Okay, so that's the stuff that goes on on our planet. Wow, I'm really grateful that happened. The timing was impeccable. Because again, on this planet, there's good, there's bad, there's ugly, there's confusion. Even with me, when that first happened, my immediate reaction was, well, I hope this isn't going to offend anyone. And then more immediately, what happened was, wow, that's something that's going on our planet, and it's going on second by second, moment by moment. People are suffering, people are dying, there's wars, there's disease, unnecessary wars and disease and suffering. Important and very important to have that perspective along with the whole new agey kind of self-help feelings or movement. And we'll get into the new age kind of concepts later on, I hope. Because there's good in things and there's bad in things. We all make mistakes, and there's going to be error. The key part of it all is that when we learn to do this, again, simple practice, and get here and stay here. When I say here, a word I use these days is being in a state of spacious awareness, if you want to call it that. Again, these are just words. And I had said before that within the past maybe 3 years or so, I started getting it. Why? Again, because of not focusing on everything that's going on, being too involved in, self-help, 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 self-help movement. And that concept of, well, you have to help yourself first, and then you can go out and help other people. which is bogus, which is BS. And as we're practicing this in what I've learned over the past couple of years, over the past several years, this simplistic process that will promote the quickest, more permanent uh, results with longevity, with um, uh, spirituality, if you want, being more connected to your truer self, having the energies that exist in the planet in a more balanced way in our lives. This will happen. So you're going to hear me repetitively saying, here's the practice again. And they are just words. Bringing up all emotions and thoughts, focusing on the emotions. And as you do this and get it into this place of awareness, what happens is you will automatically get sometimes a little confused. Well, what's next? There is no next. But you can use the practice of, if you want to use this tool, whatever tools you use, there's so many thousands, maybe millions of things that can be more confusing than helpful. Learn to find the one or ones, few ones, that are in you that work for you more individually. What happens too is over a period of time when we start using these practices of awareness, presence, and positive loving intention, we begin to speak the same language, the universal language. We begin to think and feel more. We begin to interact in a more cohesive, coherent way by learning to see that the only thing that really matters is to do it here without thinking so much. That's why I said the feelings are more and more important. You don't negate the thinking either, because you can't just feel, oh, there's no thinking here. Thinking's not good. Even as you're practicing this, it's important not to judge yourself, but just to do it as best you can with what you have right now. And that best is bringing it up, looking at it, and to me, the simplest tool is trying to release it. Release everything. And then you want to replace it, and that's that another repetitive thing that helps. And now these are more secondary kind of tools, or a tool that you can use. You want to fill yourself in again with that positive, loving intention. Usually the best way I think to do it is to have whatever feeling comes up, and then as you're releasing it, and it doesn't have to release completely, but just get a sense that you got this process down, and then replacing it with a more appropriate, parallel-like, positive feeling or thought, focusing on the feelings more so. I hope you're getting it. It's really simple. And what's confounding, but it makes sense, and I'll try to get into that also, why we have such a difficult time with healing and with helping this world to change significantly, because we need it very soon. We need it. And hopefully these kinds of teachings will help that. Yes, there's so much going on in the world, and we need to help heal ourselves and the world. It's not one and then the other. It's working together with what you have right now. And when I say heal the world, am I talking about going out and making everything perfect, and I got to go and change the governments and change? No, it means where you are and what you begin to feel or perceive as your destiny, as what you need to do in a moment by moment basis. Your whole life may be just, it's going to be just my children, or it's going to be my relationship, or it's going to be me just walking down the street and being with my animals and giving them love and giving them joy. But whatever energy you reach out there with your destiny, some of us are supposed to get out there and expand more. And some of us may just be expanding where we are in our local communities. And I do believe strongly that it should always start within your local community. Why? Because here you are, your local community. and then you spread out. And as you keep spreading out, as you're growing this way by practicing awareness, presence, and positive, loving intentions, you'll find yourself going to where you need to go, and you'll become more and more comfortable going as far as you need to. You'll be breaking through the barriers more and more because you're releasing the pain or whatever, the stress because of your life, and you're replacing it in what you want. I want less stress. Okay, let that be it. It could be that's kind of a parallel opposite thing. Some people will suffer in depression. Okay, I'm releasing this bad feeling, this depression, whatever. And I'm replacing you with no depression, with feeling good. I feel good. Use your words. I'm just creating things to give you an idea of the simplistic process that will heal you in a relatively short period of time, more so than anything else you've ever tried. And in that expansion, some of us may just walk down streets and our energy will heal somebody who may want to commit suicide just by walking past us, just by a smile. And you'll be more motivated to smile. You won't be able to help yourself after a while. I found over the past several years, I want to save bugs. I used to hear Buddhist people talking about that. Some of it I think is a little far-fetched, but that concept, that reality, I can't help it. And if there's too many of them, of course, I'm going to get some spray or something, natural spray, because I don't want to get the toxicness and all that. But for the most part, there's just that caring that I have more so for human beings more than anything, because that's where it really should be. And again, at your own pace. Don't stop killing bugs because I'm saying it. You may have a house infested with roaches or something, and then you stop, and then you're going to have all these roaches crawling all over you. Not saying that. There's a reality on this planet. And again, that's where, oh yeah, here's where I was going to get into that whole new agey kind of concept. I call it new agey. It's a little bit sarcastic, so forgive me. But I think the new age movement as a whole has done more harm than help for the world. It's created another religion that tells us to, or kind of encourages us to do things like, and it becomes almost automatic, and you'll find yourself doing that if you've really followed along with some of these newer concepts towards spirituality or the New Age concept, which started in its real development probably in the 60s. There was a lot of it coming over from the East earlier in the 30s and 40s, but it really began to take off in the 60s. And what it did was it caused people to fall into these cycles of believing this philosophy, believing that philosophy, and not really getting the truer concept that the universal voice, because there is a oneness, and we need to learn to speak the same language. Not literal language, but spiritual language, no matter what group you're with. And the more people do that, the more we'll get away from the New Age religion, this religion, Catholic religion, Buddhist religion, Hindu religion, Islam religion. They're all religions, and people's philosophical religion, political religions. If you look up some of the definitions or synonymous definitions of religions, you'll see that yes, a government agency, a government entity can be like a religion. And again, back specifically to the New Age religion, what it did, it causes us to, and even many people now still, to say words like, if you're saying a sentence, it's like, okay, always think positive. Because as soon as you get that negative thought in there, see, if you're positive, things are going to grow like a plant. And as soon as you get something positive, it starts to go back down. So it's like, okay, positive, no negative, no negative. And then you get into these things of laws of attraction. Or, hey, there's a secret, so here's how you help yourself live or go beyond the secret and find the answer. There is no secret. There's no law. There's just this. Well, I guess if you want to use the word law, but I don't want to use it right now. There's something that we need to do, yes, in order to get here and stay here and help others get here and expand and change the world the way it's supposed to, because it's still in a very, very bad state. And with all this new age stuff, why isn't it changed to where it should? And some people will start to argue it's going to take more time because within the next 100 years, and there has been so many changes. Yeah, yeah, but if you look at really what's going on in the world, there's not enough. And it's not a question of increments of years and centuries and centuries. I don't believe that. And that comes down to my religion and my dogma. And you're starting to hear that. And I don't want you to accept mine or theirs. I want you to find yours. I believe very strongly once you do, it'll come closer to what I'm saying. So, again, because I don't want to digress too much, here's some of the things that the New Age movement does. Instead of saying, well, I feel really good, but there's this other thing that I'm dealing with. Right away, don't say but. If you say but, that becomes a negative thing. Say and instead. Things like that, right? And it becomes a part of your consciousness. When you greet somebody, do this. We're not telling you to do this, but everybody's doing this. Do what you are growing inside yourself to do. What's the other one? And there's some that I hope maybe I'll forget. Hopefully I'll remember enough of them, because there's quite a few of that kind of dogmatic pulling you into their way of thinking. Oh, the one about the word. Okay, don't say should, because when you're saying should, and here's something you hear a lot of the new age or the teachers, spiritual energy, consciousness people saying, because when you say should, it's like shitting on yourself. So don't shit on yourself. And what I say is as a joke, but to kind of uh, contradict. I don't want to even say contradict so much. I'm just saying it so that we can see a little bit clearer. Um, I think we should be able to say should if we feel like saying it. I don't think we should um, continue to negative thinking, negative, oh, poor me, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. And the thing is as you practice awareness, presence, with positive, loving intention, releasing, if you will, secondarily releasing, and then replacing with a parallel opposite kind of feeling or thought, what happens is more naturally, you'll say words that you need to. You'll say less of the negative. Oh, this is going on in the world. This is going on. This president is really horrible. And everybody's saying that about certain rulers and whatever these days, which again, I think we should support rather than put down. Should. Because I believe we should say should, because it's your should and it's my should. And if I'm shoulding on myself, let me do that, because if I want to. I don't want to change if I'm not ready. Because if I hold back my should, what could happen is that should's going to build up anyway, and it's going to explode all over everybody else. And I don't want to should on people. I want my should to be taken care of and done in an appropriate manner. Anyway, learn to feel what you're saying. Again, these are my beliefs, my feelings, my dogma, my religion, if you will. Hopefully it becomes more and more of a universal thing that we can all tap into. Now, do I have problems? Do I have issues? Yes. But within this past 3 years, it's been so much different when I got away from all the stuff and started learning to do this with other words that can throw out that develop from this. Integrity, honesty, vulnerability. Beautiful word if you get not just the word, but within you the concept of what that means. That means that I'm going to be real from my gut. I'm going to be real with you and myself from as deep as I possibly can. And that's what we need. And these are the things that are going to free us to be able to live in a world that has good, bad, and ugly and still be at peace. It won't be all happy, happy, joy, joy all the time, but there'll be this consistent peace and healing for ourselves and for others and for the world. I still have stress in my life. I have bills that are piling up on that I'm not happy about. I'm not happy about it. Prior to living this way, I would have done other things that would have been more inappropriate. I would have had a drink or two, or a smoke or two, or three or four, many, many more in order to cope. I don't drink anymore. I don't smoke. And it wasn't like I had to go on like to go to an AA program necessarily, although I did attend them way in the past. I've done some things that aren't very good. Um, and I take responsibility for all that I've done. But what really changed it was when I started getting this and practicing just this simple thing. It's just too simple. No, it can't be. It's got to be more. And we need that. It's like we need these idols. We need these things, which can become another addiction, spiritual addictions even. So I learned, just to do this, and I stopped the drinking and smoking. I stopped becoming as judgmental. I stopped becoming as frustrated with myself and others. The acceptance part becomes and is becoming more and more of a natural thing. Do I still have times of stress, of frustration? Yeah, but night and day. And people are telling me, my partners is like, and she'll say it, wow, it's like a miracle that she would say. And others would verify this. So something must be real about this. And what I'm saying in these concepts isn't really anything new. It's what the sages have been saying for centuries and centuries. It's what the universe has been trying to get us to get without thinking about it so much. There's an evolutionary process that's going on. And that evolutionary process needs to be done sooner than later. And that evolutionary process has to do where we are transforming. Maybe physically, I believe, here's another one of my beliefs and dogmas, as well as consciously, where we won't have to go through unnecessary suffering anymore. And we're learning even now with intuition, with prayer meditation, to go away from those things that could harm us. And that's good. But do we want to live in this protective environment where we're saying to ourselves, oh, I better pray so that I don't get squished, or that I don't die early, or I don't get a disease? Because a lot of us have this in our deeper parts of us that we're saying,